Thanks for joining us for our second episode with Joseph Scrimshaw. That'll start playing in just a second. I just wanted to give everybody a heads up here that we do have a live show coming up here in Los Angeles at Improv Olympic at IO West. It's August 2nd. It's a Sunday at 2 p.m. It's a live tribute to Robin Williams with Rick Overton, who's a great character actor. He's a very good friend of Robin's, as well as Jamie Costa, whose video impression of Robin Williams in all these different parts just went viral. It's amazing and fantastic and really a wonderful tribute, as well as Josiah Elliott, who you'll remember was on the show a few weeks back, and she's hilarious and a big fan of Robin's as well. Tickets are $10 a piece. They're free if you're already part of the festival. Just go to stolendress.com. The events, there's a live shows up there, or go to facebook.com and search for Robin Williams Comedy on Vinyl, or just go to Comedy on Vinyl on Facebook. The event link is on there. Thanks so much.
Hey, Yakapak! Yakapak, 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 Yakapak. It's easy to grin when your ship comes in, and life is a happy lot. But the man who's worthwhile is the man who can smile when his shorts creep up in a knot. Yakapak, 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 Yakapak. Yakapak, 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 Yakapak. I got an aunt named Minnie, weighs 264. When she sits on a chair, there's so much of her there, most of her sits on the floor. Yakapak, 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 Yakapak.
I'm Jason Klamm, and this is the Comedy on Vinyl podcast. The year's 1963. The album is The Next One Will Kill You, and the artist is Morey Amsterdam. That's right, Morey Amsterdam from The Dick Van Dyke Show. My guest is Joseph Scrimshaw again. Thank you for being here again.
Absolutely, I'm thrilled.
So we did it differently this time. Normally we pick, like last time, pick something that influenced us. You picked something out of my collection that looked weird that neither of us had listened to.
Yes.
Turns out this is his second album in the same year. This one's easier to find. Let's just go first impression.
Yeah, so I kind of knew what I was getting into with Morey Amsterdam, in that it would be that very fast rat-a-tat-tat. Mm-hmm. There was for sure going to be some sort of, traditional mid-20th century ethnic humor. Or humor about different ethnicities and whatnot.
Sure.
I didn't expect that it was a musical album.
I know.
And not at all live.
Right.
Yeah.
I should have looked closer, because I had the back of it. I could have just looked, but I really had no idea what to expect. So I'm recording it, and last night, or the other night, I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? Not knowing that he was apparently quite an accomplished songwriter. I wish I'd known that. I didn't know that.
That was a part of his shtick
in
life. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But he doesn't really. A couple times he sort of sings. Let's go track by track. Let's start out and see how much we both remember about either of these songs. Because the trouble with it is going to be there's so many jokes. Saying what's your favorite bit would be very hard.
Yeah, I wrote down a couple that struck me in each track.
That's awesome. So the first one is Yucca Puck. That is what it is called, Yucca Puck.
Yeah.
Which you couldn't do. You couldn't do nowadays because it makes people just. What the fuck does that mean?
It's a novelty song.
Yeah.
And I think some of our pop songs are kind of like novelty songs, but sexy.
Yeah.
Like you can say any ridiculous thing.
Yeah.
As long as it is somehow related to sex.
That's true. That is true. If Yucca Puck. Well, if it was simply Yucca Fuck.
Then it would be, Yucca Fuck, then it'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
But Yucca Puck was... I read somewhere... Mm-hmm. I tried to look up a little bit what this album was, because once it started, I realized, it's musical and there's not an audience. Interesting.
Right.
And I found, a couple of, kind of collector's places that had a bunch of old albums. Mm-hmm. And it talked about how Yucca Puck was his classic song. He opens with his signature bit.
Oh my god!
Yucca Puck.
Oh my god! How do you? Well, it's one thing is I want to know how big of a set, how big of a stage show he would put on. There's a lot of dudes singing in this. It's a big number, right?
Yeah.
Unless it would just be him going Yucca Puck, I
think it was pretty standard in sort of vaudeville era that you'd always have a band around. I think there's so many comedians who are and this is my band leader.
That's true.
Which is so foreign to us now.
Sure.
That it's sort of anywhere where there's a red curtain behind you, you can go do stand-up. The idea that you kind of always have an orchestra around.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I guess I wouldn't have thought about that. Yeah, it's got it's this weird mix of like you said, it's novelty pop mid-century stuff with fucking like Catskill shtick up the asshole.
Yes.
Which I love. I really actually love that.
Yeah.
It's a weird combination.
Yeah, I love some of it sincerely and some of it in a sort of meta level.
Of course,
having,
you have
the
to.
perspective of centuries, or not centuries, decades. That's a
like
Freudian
centuries.
slip. Yeah, it feels like centuries.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm just grabbing the record for those at home because I think it actually gives me... Does it give me... Yeah, okay, good. That's why I wanted to talk about it, because the length of some of these things is worth discussing.
Yeah.
So is there anything in Yucca Puck... Let's that stood out to you, for one?
No, during Yucca Puck, I was just in shock. And I was concerned that the whole album was going to be like it because it doesn't have any sort of cohesive theme. It's just sort of random one-liners, some good, some awful, some dated, and then a very weird, nonsensical chorus. So I kind of thought, like, this whole album's like 35 minutes, but this is going to be just too surreal, and I'll have to take it in chunks. And then the fact I think that the other tracks are on a theme made them easier for me to kind of get into and process emotionally and intellectually.
It actually makes me think of what is the name. Okay, I'm going to be going. For those of you who don't know, Morey Amsterdam was known as what was his nickname? I'm sorry, he was the Human Joke Machine. That's what they called him. And he was written that way on the Dick Van Dyke Show. He played Buddy Sorrell, one of the head writers on the on the Alan Brady Show on Dick Van Dyke. So picture that guy singing. Give it a second. Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah, there's those moments where like, oh, he can sing. Oh, in those 3 notes. And then after that, he's just sort of like speak singing.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was such a weird and common thing that I kind of feel sad that has left our culture, that if you're successful in any other medium, you also needed an album of standards.
Right.
Or novelty songs.
Sure.
Standards or novelty songs. Like,
that's a good point.
Like the Joe Webb one. Yeah.
I always make not always, but a lot of times make the argument. I'm like, listen to this, or look at this. This guy, he was known for being a comedian, but like he could have fallen back on his wonderful this skill or wonderful that skill.
Yeah.
Morey Amsterdam could not have fallen back on comedy, but or on music, but that's part of the charm of it, of course.
Yeah,
but
I think it's that holdover of vaudeville of like everybody's a song and dance man.
Yeah,
because you do your shtick, but then at the end of the show you sing and dance with everybody, whether you can or not.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like the commitment to that is his charm. I mean, he's this little guy. I mean, like, he really just comes across as like, I don't imagine the character he plays on Dick Van Dyke was all that far from who he was. It couldn't have been, right?
No. But that was what was interesting to me about this album, in particular, like Yucca Puck being a signature bit. On the show, he is portrayed as a guy who, like, I don't really have any stake or opinion in anything. I just have a joke for anything.
Yes.
So I'm just your utility man. So the idea that he would have something that's like, no, this is the truth of my heart that I want to share with you through comedy.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. And what I didn't look at is, to be sure, I'm assuming the assumption is that he wrote all the lyrics and most of the songs. That is my assumption, not just performer, because he's not a performer per se. Because if you go into his history, I don't know if I did not know he wrote the song. Well, sort of wrote the song "Rum and Coca-Cola."
Yeah.
Which he eventually got sued by the original lyricist. Who do you know? Did you see the name of the guy who originally wrote the song?
No, I didn't.
The man has the most amazing name on the planet. First of all, guys, great song. It's made famous by the Andrews Sisters. He's credited as the lyricist. Got sued because it's based off a calypso song by a gentleman named Lord Invader. Not kidding. This is in the 40s. The man's name was Lord Invader. He's my hero for having a 1980s video game name in the 40s.
So there was actually a lawsuit, Lord Invader versus Morey Amsterdam.
Yes.
And somehow Morey Amsterdam kind of won.
He kind of won because he kept the publishing rights.
Yeah.
So the guy got a chunk of money. But so, yeah, well-known lyricist before he did anything, before he had a radio show and a TV show later on. Did you ever see the Dick Van Dyke Show where I feel like Dick Van Dyke's character, I feel like Rob writes his own novelty song.
That sounds familiar. I haven't watched Dick Van Dyke in years.
That's what it is, actually. Now, it's not Bupkis. Maybe it is Bupkis.
Oh,
is it Bupkis?
Yeah.
But he co-wrote it with a guy in the Army. It's interesting that parallels it. He co-wrote it with a guy in the Army, and he goes off to sue the guy because that guy's making all the money off the song.
Right.
Because he hears it on the radio, and he's like, how the hell do I know this? So that's why this is all coming back to me. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so there's a novelty song, a whole plot on it. One of my favorite episodes. So anyway, that's your Yucca Puck / rum and coke story. I feel like those two came together to make that. Okay, so then, if you don't mind moving on to the next
please.
only because it's called My Psychiatrist Says, a series of jokes about shrinks.
A lot of jokes.
6 minutes and 49 seconds long. A novelty song that is 7 minutes long.
Yeah.
It takes up this much of the vinyl. Like, holy it's half of this side of the album.
Yeah.
There's some good stuff in it, though.
Yeah, there is.
You know?
Yeah, it starts with just utterly unconnected, just one My Psychiatrist Says joke after the other.
Right.
But then it gets a little bit more cohesive. Mm-hmm. And I'm fascinated with how much that was a go-to joke at that time.
Yeah.
In a way, it seems to me like, not a lot of real issues are being discussed,
Sure.
but they're being alluded to by the fact that everybody has a psychiatrist.
Right. Yeah. That's a good point. I mean, at the time, I guess it was at this point finally becoming not just acceptable, but almost hip to have a shrink.
Yes.
My analyst, they would say, but he says my psychiatrist in this. But, it was finally becoming acceptable, but it's still like, I'm not going to talk about anything anybody would actually talk about necessarily.
Yeah, kind of hinting at it. And I like the idea that, not the idea, the reality that Freud is just name checked, because I was thinking about Freud. Freud wrote about comedy theory, and he broke jokes into innocent versus tendentious, like wordplay, silly things being innocent, which you kind of think, like, that's what Morey Amsterdam is going to be.
Sure.
Just kind of meaningless inversions of logic that you don't see coming that are just funny. And then Freud called other jokes, basically all other jokes, tendentious, in that they were packages for meaning.
Okay.
In that they were a safe way to say something that you could not just say outright, but you can say in the form of a joke.
Anybody who goes to a psychiatrist should have their head examined. A psychiatrist is the last person you talk to before you start talking to yourself. That's why whenever I go to my psychiatrist, I have half a mind. I think that's why I go. My psychiatrist says that people who live in glass houses might as well get up and answer the doorbell. My psychiatrist also says you should never drink while driving. Pull over, drink, then drive. In fact, my psychiatrist says a lot of things. For instance, my psychiatrist says that everything means something. My psychiatrist says that no one thing means one thing. Like if some night you dream that you're a great big redwood tree and someone hits you with an axe, it means you've got a split personality.
But I was always thinking about that when I was listening to the psychiatrist track, because Morey Amsterdam should be safe little innocent jokes.
Right.
But so much which is like almost saying something, and later on in the album, just blatantly saying some fairly horrible things.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. It also that he name checks Freud is interesting because in the album before this, each track listing is the name of one historically famous person. So I don't know if there's sketches about them or songs about them. One of them is Freud.
Okay.
And that was just one of the people who shows up.
Do you have that album?
I don't.
Okay. Well,
and
I want to track that one down on the internet somehow.
Absolutely. I need to find it. It seems like that one's rarer. There's not even pictures of it online.
Okay.
This one you can find. I don't know if this got more exposure or what. So 63. I don't know what year this was into the show. Dick Van Dyke's on the back. You should know that. Dick Van Dyke's, somebody's drawn on the plastic.
They've given him an actual
a nice
Van Dyke, right?
Yeah, they really have. That's a very good point. Yeah. Were there any jokes that you, because again, you might have had more opportunity to write those down.
The one that jumped out to me is he's talking about things that he's described to his psychiatrist, and this sort of comes out of the blue. He says, a woman shoots her husband with a bow and arrow. She didn't want to wake the kids. Which is, on one hand, just like a dumb surprise joke. But the other one is like, of course, that's what America is dealing with, the fact that spouses want to murder each other.
Yeah.
Like, it's in an escalation of Take My Wife, Please.
Yeah.
That like, hey, of course we want to murder each other. In the idea that sort of that there was that much dysfunction and repression.
Right.
That the only way you could express it is in a novelty song.
Yeah. There's so much regret associated with what we now mostly associate with romance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially, like, I can use you as an example. I mean, just listening to the album that you gave me, Flawfest is fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
And, like, what's great about it is, like, every time you talk about your wife in it, even if it's something, like, sad or tragic or interesting like that, it's very sweet and romantic. That's how marriage comes across in your comedy, okay,
Yeah.
in the 21st century. But then it's so... Yeah.
Like, it was just sort of this, like, wink, wink, nod, nod. Of course
Sure.
it's horrible, you know?
Sure, right.
It's like having diarrhea. It's just sort of like, it's awful. It just, everybody knows that. It's had, yeah. Which is very weird.
The accepted reality of marriage, which still exists in places. I noticed that, like, if you have friends from back home on Facebook who every once is like, why are you still living that life? You know you have options, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're on the internet. You know the world's a lot smaller now. You have options, like, you have other worldviews you can look at. So it scares me.
Yeah. And there's still plenty of very successful comedians who are like, men like this, women are like this, and I think
100%.
that's the sort of, great-grandchild of that sort of joke. But it's a different thing, because it's not the battle of the sexes so much as it's awful to be married.
Yeah. It's upsetting.
And
There's a
little
more of that later, too,
yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely more of that.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, that when I looked up the sort of rare record collectors review of this album, they said, of course it's all clean and family-friendly. And I had just been looking at that when this line came up about the woman is going to shoot the husband with a bow and arrow so the kids don't hear. Mm-hmm. And, like, that idea that this was squeaky clean and family-friendly at the time.
Yeah, I guess so, right? Like, you could sit around and listen, because you weren't listening to Red Fox. You'd be listening to cute little Morey Amsterdam talking about murder. Good God. Like, but at the same time, there's some great charm in the darkness and the fact that, like, he's like, I'm going to make this joke and it's coming from me and isn't that cute? But there's, like, it's also, like, just like, holy fuck, that this is an undercurrent.
Yeah.
That is, like you said, it's just accepted as fact.
Yeah. And there's nothing really in any of these tracks where I feel like this is what he really thinks.
Sure, of course, yeah.
It feels like there's no way you could figure out who the real Morey Amsterdam is other than a guy who really likes jokes and has amazing delivery and is well-traveled and war-weary is a comedian. But nope, I don't perceive any perspective that he wanted to share with the world.
No. Yeah, definitely not.
It's just anything for a laugh, period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so if this is 63, we're talking, couldn't find a month. So this is around the same time as First Family. So I'm curious why two albums in 1963, number one. And then I'm curious if the first one came out right before the First Family. He's like, oh, fuck, we need to make another album. Now this one's so famous, let's do this quick. And, like, because that's kind of how it feels, because around that same time, it's just a boom. This is the beginning of the boom.
Yeah.
So my assumption, and Dick Van Dyke, to the best of my knowledge, never released one. I almost want to see if Rose Marie ever released one. Because, I mean, she was a singer beforehand.
Yeah.
But, like, I guess he's the most obvious choice for somebody who would make this kind of album. By the way, the cover's fantastic.
Yes, it
this
is.
Gorgeous Technicolor-looking him standing in front of a dartboard with a dart that's just barely missed killing.
Yeah, which is also a bit of a reference to Dick Van Dyke.
Yeah, right. Yeah, good point. And it's the name of the record label is Roulette. Oh, wait, is it the name of the record label or not? Because it is. Okay, there we go. Yes, so Roulette released a bunch of very weird looking albums. God, yeah, I want to know more about this and the history of it. Like I said, I was telling you when you walked up, I left a voicemail with his son because I want to know more about who Morey Amsterdam really was and
and what he.
This is the kind of period though where you didn't really necessarily know who your parents were, so maybe we'll learn nothing, but who knows?
Yeah, he might have had a great marriage.
He could have. He could have. Who knows? So anyway, 7 minutes. Like I re-listened to this as I was cleaning before you came over.
Okay.
And so I'm vacuuming, which takes a while. I'm done with vacuuming. It's still playing.
My psychiatrist says.
Yeah, my psychiatrist says. So obviously, okay. So next, now, if you want, we're gonna move on to Big Molly O'Toole.
Oh, please.
Big Molly O'Toole is, and we don't really need to notate times. They're all about 3 minutes long. Although, there's another one.
There's
two on the other side.
Another long one on the other side. I liked a lot. But Big Molly O'Toole is. I think most people could guess from the title exactly what it is. Yeah. Were you surprised at all?
No, not at all. Not from. I mean, it's accent work. Totally typical of what you would expect. misogynist and not anti-Irish, but definitely dealing with some stereotypes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's weird for me, like at that point in time where I think we were far more aware of the ethnicities of Caucasian people and their cultures, and that was just a part of comedy for sure. But I think also right around like the 50s and 60s, once like there was a lot more airplane travel, but there's just a lot of albums that are divided up by world traveling.
Yeah.
Or like, Dean Martin has an album where it's all, Spanish, and then he has one that's all French.
Sure.
And I think Sinatra kind of broke the seal on Come Fly With Me, where each song is about a different place that you could fly to.
That's a good point.
On TWA. So when I was listening to this, it kind of felt like the comedy version of it, where like from a modern perspective, it just feels like I'm going to take a crap on the Irish.
Yeah, right.
But in context of the time, it seems like he's doing a little bit of that of like, well, what are the genres that are popular? I'm going to do a pastiche of every genre.
Yeah.
And so this is my funny Irish song about, an obese Irish woman that I have to marry because she hits me and is horrible.
That's the other thing, too, is like, I'm a big non-fan of the phrase equal opportunity offender. I hate when people say that's an excuse for lazy comedy.
Yeah.
But I'll give him a pass based on your perception of this, because at the very least he does hit everybody equally, I guess.
Yeah.
Although I think, as usual, women are going to bear most of the brunt, because women really take a hit in a lot of these. I think literally in one of them. So it's just like, whew. But yeah, like I said, are there some jokes in there that I'm like? I mean, he talks about it. She had long black hair down her back, on her head, nothing. That's all I remember.
Yeah, which it was one of the nicer ones. The ones I wrote down was eyes as big as saucers and underneath the cups to go with them.
Yep. I'll admit that one actually made me giggle quite.
That one surprised me, which I mean that's part of it. Yeah. Of like when these weird little fast-paced one-liners surprise you. I thought its delivery was good on What a Shape, like the coastline of New Jersey. I also did not expect that. And then the other one I liked was She Was Luscious, one of the biggest lushes in town. Just had a nice actual rhythm to it. But also on that review site that I looked at, it warned people that in our modern politically correct climate, some people might not like Big Molly O'Toole. It's like, oh, okay. But then it said, because he does an Irish accent. It's like, it's actually the least offensive thing about this song.
Absolutely right, because it's, it's not your typical Irish cop accent either. He just kind of, you could gloss over that one would think.
But again, to me, it doesn't feel like the intent was, I hate Irish people, I hate women, I hate anyone who is overweight at all. I'm going to... It just feels like there are so many songs about the perfect Irish lass. Yeah. How can I subvert that?
Sure.
How can I subvert it as actively and aggressively as possible?
So this fella walks up to me on the street and he asks for a few cents. I haven't eaten in 3 days, he tells me. Why not, I ask, and he replies, me wife hacked me teeth. Ah, you poor soul, I says. And then he looks at me and says, oh, Bister, have pity, and please hear me ditty. I'm the fellow who married Big Molly O'Toole. Whenever she necks me, she practically wrecks me. She got muscles and biceps like an old army mule. Alive, oh-ho, I'm barely alive, oh-ho, since the day that I married Big Molly O'Toole. Ah, Molly O'Toole, that's a girl. That's what everyone asks me. That's a girl? Molly's got everything. Bad breath, lousy complexion, eyes as big as saucers, and underneath the cups to go with them.
Which I think is fascinating.
And we can get to a part of this wonderful ethnic wheel a little bit later on. This ethnic roulette, as it were, because just something. Have you ever? Okay, actually, let's talk about it now. Have you been to Disneyland?
No, I haven't.
You've never been to Disneyland. Do you know what the Enchanted Tiki Room is?
Yes.
Okay. Have you heard the song from the Enchanted Tiki Room?
No, I haven't.
I have a CD of it. Evan Schletter was on the podcast a few weeks ago, and we were just briefly talking about it. So we were talking about Spike Jones.
Okay.
The album that he picked was the greatest hits, and it's got one song that's supposed to sound like island music, but it's obviously a bunch of white dudes going oop-a-dup-a-doop-a-dup. Like it's like, okay, it's a great song, but it's like it is what it is.
Yeah.
And he has a friend who calls the tiki room birds, the animatronic birds, the racism birds, because it's as many different accents as it is very much this album condensed into a bunch of birds and singing flowers. Like, there's a parrot that sings like this, and then there's there's not even a Scottish, but there's a Mexican, there's a German, it's a common theme.
Yeah.
Where there's this, like, let's explore, like you said, let's kind of explore the world in this interesting way. Doesn't seem offensive to anybody, because all we're doing is just we're talking. It's just a voice in terms of that, but obviously he takes it to a different level by making these jokes. But there's something similar to the Tiki Room. I don't know where I'm going with that. But.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. That it's just that shifting perspective. That, like, what, this is just the way this whole group of people talks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
And what if they were birds?
Are there any other jokes that stood out for you?
No,
on
those
that
were the
one?
ones
Those
that,
are the ones that just hit you.
Yeah, I mean, I think starting really with this one, my psychiatrist, a lot of his like delivery had a very similar rhythm, but like with Big Molly O'Toole, he started to really successfully surprise me with his delivery.
Okay.
And I think of anything to like really, really be enjoyed in this album is just a master at different kinds of delivery of different kinds of lines to be both exactly what you expect them to be and really surprising.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we don't hear that as often because no one, the most war-torn comedian, hasn't performed as much as a vaudevillian has.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. I really love, too, when some of the songs, like, they're all done with enough energy to be enjoyable and interesting to listen to, but his rhythm is very frequently like, here's another one. Like, I got another one. But he's like, he's laid back about
and
it.
Sometimes
like,
that's
reaching into his pocket.
when he's got like 8 in a row. He's like, you know what? Ha. You know what? Ha. You know what? Ha. Because it starts to take on this sort of comic rhythm of like, this is merciless. This is becoming so bad it's good.
Right. And that's another thing to keep in mind, too, I think, is that, you know, there's the whole, these are all bad jokes and he knows it. So it's not like, if he doesn't take it seriously, then I think it translates that he doesn't feel the way, you know, somebody could assume, I guess.
Yeah, I think, and that goes back to his, like, the characterization of his character on Dick Van Dyke, the idea that these are disposable.
Yeah.
They're not precious little gems.
Yeah.
I have a million of them. Literally, I'm a joke machine.
Yeah.
Here's a joke.
Right.
It's not about, it's like, does that one work? I don't care. I got another.
Yeah.
You know, and there is something charming about that some comedians do now. Like, you know, Mike Kaplan does that a little bit.
Right.
And, you know, and he plays the irony card a lot of commenting on the quality. But it's fun to hear that style of comedy.
Yeah, I think, but it's the perfect irony to have it permanently.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? On an LP where he knows people are going to be stuck with this. Like, I think he probably liked that. He must have enjoyed that to some level.
Yeah.
The next one, okay. This is the one that shocked me the most at first. I was super shocked because... Well, number one, it reminds me of a track on Free to Be You and Me, which is a better track, arguably. It's, I think, Marlo Thomas and Mel Brooks being babies and talking about what their sex is and am I a boy, baby, or am I... This is called I Wonder What a Baby Thinks. Mm-hmm. And it's Morey Amsterdam singing and also doing a baby voice.
And singing in a baby voice. It is a real shock after Big Molly O'Toole, which is basically just like... She's a giant, abusive, drunk woman who forced me to marry her. And then the next track is babies. And it really does have that sort of sweet and innocent tone of like, I wonder what babies think about. And it's quite gentle. It's in comparison.
Mm-hmm. I'm a sanitary baby. I can't even remember the punch, but just him saying I'm a sanitary baby is very weird to me.
Yeah, the ones I wrote down through that is I suck my thumb through a straw. That was a weird image.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I am a baby. I am a male baby. And then there was some postman joke.
Oh yes. One day maybe I'll play. Something. I'm a male baby. When I get older, I'll play postman or something.
Yeah.
Which must mean something. And then he laughs at his own joke.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why I don't get the joke. I totally don't get the joke. Is it like playing doctor? I totally have no idea what play postman means.
Yeah.
Somebody will write in.
Oh, absolutely.
Tell me what the fuck that joke means.
But I also like that it was very sweet and innocent, and then ended with "Baby Want Jane Mansfield."
That's right. Yes, it does end with that joke. I did like that one considerably.
It was like he couldn't maintain the sweetness.
Yeah.
That like he had to get a little something blue in there at the end.
Yeah, no comedian can. No, I mean like, well, I could be wrong. I'm not a professional comedian, but I feel like that's always
Yeah, I think it is
You always reach for that a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. But it was weird. It's weird to have that sort of like, well, we want one track to be kind of sweet and nice that you could play for your kids.
Sure.
And then it ends with that.
Right. A joke that at the very least they wouldn't get it. Like, they'd know a reference and they wouldn't understand what it means. There's this I used to have a blooper tape. And the blooper tape, one of the bigger laugh moments, it's trying to figure out what Jane Mansfield is saying. It's an awards ceremony.
Okay.
But the joke was the people who set up the two presenters were, first is Jane Mansfield, and then up walks Mickey Rooney, who is at nipple level.
Yeah.
And that's just the joke for 2 fucking minutes. And sorry, but that's what I think of every time. We're at the halfway point in the album, and I wanted to ask you, as I think one of the only people who's ever been on my podcast who not only has released a comedy album, but has also released a comedy music album. I mean, it's half of the same album.
Yeah.
But, and I don't want anybody to anticipate that that your music comedy album is anything like this, because it's not.
It's different.
There are a lot of wonderful professional musicians, and a lot, to the point where I got upset and jealous. But it's so. Do you mind talking about that just for a second?
Sure.
Putting together a comedy music album.
Yeah. So the Flawfest album it's a comedy album and then a whole separate music album. And I basically asked a bunch of music friends to record albums inspired by the music track, or songs inspired by the comedy tracks.
Yeah.
Or so sometimes there's like very specific lines or a real general idea. Sometimes there are really, really specific reflections of the comedy track.
Yeah.
But for me, I always perform a lot with musicians. I like older vaudeville comedy where comedy and music was mashed up a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I was just really interested to mash up comedy and music in a different way. And I had never heard of anybody doing this where the music was inspired by the comedy.
Yeah.
And some of the songs are explicitly comedic.
Sure.
And others are not at all.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't really, besides making sure like all of the main points on the comedy album were covered by songs, besides that, I really didn't curate it too much.
Yeah.
Like I, for the most part, just got the songs. A couple of the musicians checked in with me more.
Okay.
Like Kevin Murphy from Riff Tracks, Mr. Science Theater, kind of like, he's like, hey, I think I'm going to do this. And like, great.
Yeah.
But like John Roderick, great Seattle-based musician who's running for Seattle city government now. He got it in just right under the wire, and that's part of his shtick. Is like he's a maverick. He is not to be controlled. So
Right.
I was really happy that he agreed to do it.
Sure.
And he agreed on the title and was just like, I'm just going to do whatever. And like, yes, I know that. I know what.
Of course.
I knew what I was getting into when I asked you to do this, John. That's just fine.
What's great too, though, is that like there's enough anticipation that Mr. Suckface is a great payoff too. Because
Awesome.
Mr. Suckface is so. It's just buy the fucking album, people. It's good God, it's one of the most ridiculous. Like just the whole Mr. Suckface. Like I've got a whole podcast about the dumb shit I wrote as a kid.
Yeah.
Like, and so just listening to it, like, oh, this is so pleasant.
Oh, good.
It's so pleasant. Like it's also, but not in a like, oh, isn't it funny he's being tortured by his own stuff. That's what I do to myself. I'm like, no, he really appreciates. He appreciates that he had a heart as a child, and I love that.
Awesome.
And that's kind of like that. I think it ties in perfectly with the sweetness, with also the weirdness, because it's about sex? ? Yeah. How old were you when you wrote that again?
I think I was like 14. Yeah, I mean, I knew enough to get laughs off of sexual references, but not enough to understand and track logically that makes no sense. Yes, those words both have to do with sex, but those actions don't go together.
Just listen to it. It's
It
worth
was
listening to.
it was great fun, and I was really happy with how the music turned out. That a lot of the songs, not all of them, but a lot of the songs are totally listenable too if you have never listened to the album. A couple of them are like you don't really get what that song's about if you haven't listened to the album. But some
they're
of them
all
are
good.
great. Yeah, and Molly Lewis is really great in her live show. She does the song that she did a lot, which is a complex thing about chopping people in the butt because of a James Bond video game.
That's right.
And she's got her explanation of that down to like 3 sentences, and the audience is on board. It's really impressive.
It seems that long noses run in my family. My Aunt Sadie had what they call a button nose. That was the trouble. It buttoned to her chin. And my Uncle Cedric had the biggest nose you've ever seen. He used to use a bedsheet for a handkerchief. I think his nose was born and his body grew on. Wasn't only long, it was wide. My aunt said when she kissed him, it was like driving into a 2-car garage. His nose was so big, he was the only guy in town who could smoke a cigar under the shower. He took a trip to Europe once, stuck his head out the porthole, and turned the boat around. Well, when he was 1 year old, his mother rented him out for a vacuum cleaner. People used to put him face down on the rug and have him inhale, but they had to cut that out too. He started inhaling the rugs. And when he went to college, he was quite a boy. All the other kids had their noses buried in their books. He had the books buried in his nose. He was quite an athlete too, but he got into trouble on account of his nose. One day he was running down a football field, tripped, landed on his nose, and pole vaulted 87 feet. I cleaned that up from an old honeymoon joke.
That is the only way. That might be the only acceptable way to use somebody else's material. They ask you to make something based off of it. You made a whole new thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The only
Like,
good way to cover comedy is to build something new out of it. Because, you can't
really
just do somebody else's bit.
That gives me a very good idea. I've talked to 2 or 3 people on the podcast about, we've had the same idea. We're like, wouldn't it be fun to some people have been like, why can't a comedian cover another comedian if they credit? I'm like, I think it'd be fun to do a show where you cover other comedians. However, I think it would be fun to do it in that way.
Yeah.
Musically or some other way.
Reinvention. Yeah.
Exactly.
Reinterpretation.
Somebody's got an idea about that. Hit me up.
Yeah.
You will. I know you'll do it. Let's skip to side B.
Yeah.
Of The Next One Will Kill You by Morey Amsterdam. We've got, all right, this is good. This is a not a long one. There are 2 long ones on this side. There are only 4 tracks on this whole side of the album. By the way, were there any skips in the recording I sent you?
I think there was
There's
one
maybe
little
one?
one. Yeah, one little hiccup. But honestly, it's like charming.
What was really funny is just listening to this right before you got here is having a bit of a shit fit over something minor, and it kept skipping on Morey Amsterdam saying, "I'm a baby, I'm a baby," and it was just like torturing me. I'm like, all right, you're right. I need to calm down.
Commenting upon you from the beyond.
It was brilliant. It was so perfect. So this next, track number 1 on side 2, it's side 2 on here. It's side 2 on the record and side B on the sleeve. It hurts my brain. This is not a collector's item, but I wanted to pretend it was for a second. Man's best friend is his nose.
Yeah, this one was definitely the most challenging for me. In that, he covers some things that are sort of fascinating to me about the time period, like psychiatrists and sort of is, being Irish.
Sure.
Doing an Irish song, is that just a standard thing you're going to do? But then just like, I don't need 3 minutes of obscure, bizarre, surreal nose jokes.
Right. Yeah. So, what was it? Something about buttoning or I wish I could remember any of the damn jokes. Do you have any written down there that are?
I didn't write down any of the sort of generic nose jokes because but there was one that he had about a nose being so big that he vaulted over, like he was going in to like kiss a woman and he accidentally vaulted because of his nose being like a pole.
Okay, yeah.
And then he added like, I cleaned that one up from a honeymoon joke.
That's what it was. Okay, I only heard half of that joke previously.
Yeah, so basically it was clearly like, I'm creating the image that I tried to get to this woman, but something was too big, so I pole vaulted over her. And at first it just sounds like a really dumb nose joke, and then he can't help himself but to add, by the way, that should be a dick joke, guys.
I love it. Oh, that's so fantastic. Like again, there's these little. We have a cat emerging from underneath a couch. Hi.
I feel like I'm giving birth to a cat. Came out between my legs.
That's fantastic. Hi, Lilo. God, somehow that one totally slipped by me when I was listening to it originally.
Yeah, there's also a really weird reference to a Sinatra song.
Really? Okay.
Kind of a bizarre. There's a bit where he suddenly starts kind of speak singing.
Okay, yeah.
The dawn comes up like thunder.
Oh, yeah.
It's that kind of thing of like out of context. If you had no idea of the context, it's just, what are you talking about? But Sinatra did a song based on the Rudyard Kipling poem. That was orchestrated by Billy May, big bombastic thing that was really over the top, and they just decided to end it kind of halfway through because they just thought it was cool and weird. And it ends with the dawn came up like thunder, and then there's a gong crash. And and the song's just over, which is very weird and rare. But Rudyard Kipling's family wasn't happy with it and fought him on using the song a bunch.
Really?
So I didn't know if is this like a really deep reference to lawsuits?
Right, yeah.
Back in the day?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's not only meta, but it's also very it's very modern in terms of there's a lot of recognition humor. I'll just say a thing. Hey, you guys know who Boba Fett is. I'm going to just say Boba Fett, and you'll get the joke somehow. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And it's obscure to me, but at the time, was it obscure, I guess? Probably not.
I don't think so, yeah. I think the song was relatively popular. The album was popular, so who knows? But other than that, it is 3 minutes of nose jokes.
Yeah. I don't think anytime you come on, I don't think we're going to miss a Rat Pack reference.
No.
All right, that's good. That's good. That makes me happy. Next one is called Drunks Inc. or Drunks Incorporated.
Yes.
7
minutes long.
Yep.
And this was by far my favorite
Uh-huh.
that I would probably go back and listen to.
Okay.
For a couple reasons. Because I like drunk jokes.
Sure.
And also it's narrative.
That's
Like,
true, yeah.
Even though it is a bunch of one-liners, it is the story of one guy on this epic drunk binge. And his wife's attempts to get him to come home.
Yeah.
His failure at doing so.
There's the one bit that I feel like stood out, might not even been the best joke, but it just stood out because it lasted so long, is about him trying to order food. Trying to
Yes.
order a bun. Coffee and a bun. We don't have buns. All right, then I'll have a tea and a bun. You don't understand. We don't have buns. All right, then fine. If you're going to be that way, I'll just have a bun. Like, it's a good gag.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the line, he's so drunk he can't lift his head up. All right, give me a haircut.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. And then in terms of just sort of culturally shocking, there's the part where the wife convinces him to come home on the phone. And he says, okay, well, then get the kids off the street because I'm driving.
Oh, that's right. Jesus Christ. Oh, just the casual drink drive joke. Holy shit.
Yeah, there's another earlier one that's just kind of a play on drunk driving, on like wordplay with it.
Yeah.
But this is the one of just like, again, getting back to that sort of, this is a wholesome, family-friendly album where he says, literally, I'm so drunk, I might murder the children with the car, get them out of the street.
Like, I mean, obviously, there's any good comedian is gonna have is not condoning drinking and driving, but it's just the casualness with which it's thrown out.
Yeah.
The same as like if you made not that he would necessarily, but if you made a wife beating joke casually,
Yeah.
it's the kind of thing you might hear. It's so, again, same thing now. Any comedian can say what they like because you can't. It'd be stupid to assume they mean everything they say.
Yeah.
There are characters involved, but I guess it says more. Just
But
like,
I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
Sort of how explicit is there that there's a character involved?
Sure.
Because I think for Morey Amsterdam, like we've talked about,
Yeah.
in his era, there's agreed upon, pretty firmly agreed upon. This is his drunk bit.
Yeah.
He's doing the
Yeah.
drunk bit. He doesn't mean that.
sure, yeah,
And then I think in a lot of modern comedy, especially with like Louis C.K. being the king, there's so much that's confessional.
sure.
That
Sure.
then I think it leads to things like the more recent Amy Schumer blow up, where she's saying, well, I do a set where sometimes I say things I mean and sometimes I'm playing a dumb blonde.
Yeah, right.
And that's fascinating to me, of like that cultural agreement of when something's coming from a character
Right.
or not.
Yeah, I mean,
And it's a mess right now, I
Oh,
think,
for sure.
culturally.
Yeah.
But back then, probably pretty clear.
Yeah, I think so. Which is, I guess, maybe I don't know if it excuses, maybe explains the whole, well, it's a fucking joke, get over it.
Yeah.
I don't like being politically correct, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because, being the sensitive idiot that I am, like, I'm fine with political correctness. I'm just not fine with censorship, which is a fine line to walk. But yeah, that's a really good point.
I don't
It is
think
more
it's as
muddled
challenging
now.
as people make it. People
Sure,
rattle
no.
the saber about censorship, and they're not being censored yet.
Right, yeah,
All
absolutely.
it is you say something, a bunch of people say, I don't like that.
Yeah.
And then you can either stop saying that thing or you can keep saying that thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the whole conversation.
Yeah, I like to turn it around on thoughtfulness. Like, I mean, I would prefer if you're gonna make a joke, let's be obvious why you're making the joke.
Yeah.
You don't have to be, but I'm more interested in a comedian who puts thought into everything they say.
Yeah, and to me, I feel like either you're making a point with a joke, or you're just doing anything to get a laugh.
Sure.
Either you agree with what you're saying, or you have the ethos of like, I will say anything to get a laugh.
Yeah.
And Morey Amsterdam seems so clearly like,
Yeah.
anything for a laugh, whatever.
100%.
This isn't. Oh, I don't mean that. No, I mean, I believe that he loves drinking and driving as much as I believe he has a giant nose. I
Right.
mean, it seems like
Yeah.
the same level
Yeah.
of commitment
That's
to
absolutely
both
true.
of those premises. And also, I think like the drunk just used to be a character.
Yeah.
And like everybody knew one.
For sure.
You're just like, oh sure, that was like Uncle Bob. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. It's. Is there anybody out there that you know of who does anything remotely? Is there anybody who tries a throwback? That's because there are one-liner. I mean, Jim Hamilton's a great one-liner comic. There
Yeah.
are plenty of great one-liner, but a one-liner is not the same thing as a joke comic. Does
Yeah.
it exist now? Because maybe, but I'm not aware of it.
I think in terms of like that pace and that patter, I think of Mike Kaplan.
Sure.
But he also does bits that I think are about his life. He's just doing it that way.
Right.
I mean, I think Emo Phillips is still committed to
that's true.
that character, whether or not that character just is him.
Sure.
Whether it was in the 80s and he has become that or just is that now.
Right.
There's an endless commitment to that character, for sure.
Suddenly, out of all his drunken haze, he remembers he has a wife and family. Now, he hasn't been home in about 6 months. He calls his wife. This is now about 4 o'clock in the morning. He says, "Oh, honey, what you got for dinner tonight?" She says, "Oh, rats." He says, "Only cook half. I ain't coming home." She says, "You better come home or I'll trace this call. I'll find you. I'll fracture your skull." He says, "All right, honey, don't get mad. I'll come right home. Get the kids off the street. I'm driving." She said, "Where are you?" He says, "I don't know." She said, "You sure?" He says, "No, I haven't the faintest idea where I am." She said, "Well, run outside and look at the street sign." So he runs out and looks at the street sign. He comes back. He says, "Hello, honey." She says, "I know where I am now. I'm on the corner of Walk and Don't Walk." Goes out. Naturally, he can't find his car. He lives out in the suburbs, so he gets on a little local train. He realizes he's pretty well slopped up, has a growth of beard about 3 weeks long. So he borrows a razor, shaving cream, and a mirror, goes in the men's room, hangs the mirror up on the wall, lathers up his face. Just as he starts to shave, he drops the razor. As he leans down to pick up the razor, the train lurches and the mirror falls off the wall. He stands up, looks at the blank wall, and says, "Oh my God, I cut my head off."
But yeah, I don't know. I can't think of a lot of other people who are. There's a guy in L.A. Named, I think, Jay London, who does a lot of good, just set up, knock down, very.
Okay.
You don't expect the surprise twist at the end of the joke kind of thing.
Sure.
Or some of the ones that are just the sort of meta, like, this is an unbelievably, impressively bad joke.
Yeah.
Not just a dad joke, but like this sort of like the dad joke that your dad wishes he could think of. That is,
This is a time period too when it was just part of your nature, it was part of your skill set to have that encyclopedic knowledge of not only your own jokes but everybody else's. Like Emo, I heard him on, maybe you made it weird, some live podcast where they said, "Oh, you did this joke, blah blah blah," and fucking verbatim pulls it out of his ass. Like he knows his shit. Must be a photographic memory.
Yeah.
And then my best friend he mailed me a birthday package of stuff. One of them was Milton Berle's joke book, which this fucking thick, 99% of it unusable. I'm sure he used them once. Know. Did you write jokes as a kid? Like when you were first realizing you wanted to be funny?
No. Jokes always seemed like obvious.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think all of my comedy started from trying to write characters and having sort of honest character moments. Mm-hmm. And I miss jokes. I like jokes.
Sure.
But I think they're in the modern context of comedy, they're dangerous. It's hard to figure out exactly when the audience is in the mood for a joke. Just a setup, knockdown. Of course, that's the punchline, and it's gratifying. Versus that, I think I said this when I was on the podcast before. Like, we're living in such an "I see what you did there" culture.
Yeah.
Where if people can detect the construction of the joke.
Sure.
So I think that's why anybody who does this rat-a-tat-tat style does it with a little bit of acknowledgement of like the part of the charm of this is that it is dancing back and forth between being brilliant and awful.
Yeah, that's true. That's where he can call it out in his own way, but it's not self-aware the whole time, or at least doesn't come across.
I feel like that's what the title of the album means. Of the next one will kill you.
Yeah,
is
right.
Either the next one, that joke wasn't good, but the next one will be interpretation, or you've endured 80 of these. The 81st is just going to make you pick this record up and throw it across the room.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I would be curious if anybody could pull off anything like this, though. Again, I don't know if this is a thing that nobody would be interested in doing it, but I wonder if anybody could pull it off.
Yeah.
This musical mixed with jokes.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to me.
I'm working on a little holiday EP because I have a couple of different holiday things that I've written, and they're not stand up. They're like little stories or sort of parodies set to music. So that'll be interesting to see how that turns out, if it turns out. But these are almost like songs where the verses are jokes.
Sure.
And then there's a random chorus.
Right.
A very random chorus.
Do you have any more? Were there any more drunk jokes that were in there that we didn't?
Let's see. I like the leaning up against the lamppost, watching the curb go by.
Yeah, right.
That was just like a set up, knockdown joke. Mm-hmm. That is like, I have been in that place in my life. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. As a person who enjoys alcohol from time to time, I have been in that place. And yeah, and I just like the. I think it also was just a nice juxtaposition of the idea of kind of leaning up against the lamppost has a little bit of that sort of like, I don't really care what's going on,
sure.
sort of Rat Pack cool. Like,
yeah. That's true.
One of Sinatra's most famous albums is literally him leaning up against the
right.
lamppost. So the juxtaposition of like, yeah, I'm standing around looking cool,
mm-hmm.
but really I'm just trying to not fall over.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like what's kind of great about it, I'm glad you picked this. I'm glad I bought it, of course, but I'm glad you picked it because it solidifies who Morey Amsterdam is a little more in my brain, even though it's throwaways. Like, I'm just like, shit, this guy had 2 albums. There is, like you said, there's kind of this odd coolness about him.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have picked up on any of the Rat Pack references if you hadn't mentioned them. And I don't think I would have associated the two, but now I sort of feel it's kind of inseparable. There's something oddly chill about Morey Amsterdam.
Yeah. I think
I like that.
I just think almost all of the entertainers, you have to get into the 70s before, and even really the 80s, before people are not influenced by vaudeville.
Sure.
Where there isn't a sense of being very, very performative
mm-hmm.
for an audience,
mm-hmm.
that you are always performing, not casually talking to people.
Right.
And the constant desire to mix music and comedy, too,
mm-hmm.
that comes out of vaudeville.
Yeah.
And that if you're good at one thing, then, hey, we might be able to make some money out of you doing this
sure.
bit, too.
Yeah. I there are a lot of albums that came out like this after this that were a lot more cynical because they were, let's pay back the IRS records,
yeah.
that kind of thing. And that's why I like this, is because it doesn't feel like that. It just does feel like you wouldn't necessarily call this artistic expression, but you definitely would call it expression, because it's like, I do have these things. I got some jokes I like. I would like to tell them and put them on a fucking record. So let's have fun.
Yeah, and it seems like an extension of what he had, probably become popular and known for in
mm-hmm.
Dick Van Dyke show.
Yeah.
Of like, here, if you like the 5 minutes we get to spend with Morey Amsterdam and Dick Van Dyke, here is like
mm-hmm.
pure, concentrated, uncut Morey Amsterdam.
That's another curiosity too. Is like I want to know what kind of people were buying this. I mean, obviously fans of the Dick Van Dyke show, because who else really knew who he was probably at the time, but
yeah.
It's interesting because it probably would have sold to the same audience that bought the first Family, which is my only reason I say that. Is one of the reasons I say that Dick Van Dyke was so popular is that he and Laura, or Mary Tyler Moore, kind of resembled the Kennedys. They had that similar look, that similar feel, same kind of middle class white folk. I feel,
Yeah, but at the time, sort of young and inheriting
100%,
the world,
mm-hmm.
coming into their own kind of thing.
And then this tiny little guy, which there's just something really charming about.
Yeah, older, world-weary. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But it must have been relatively popular since you can find it.
For sure. Yeah, and I mean, it got a release
on
on CD, too, 2009.
Wow.
Yeah, so you can get this on CD, folks. This is not one of those rarities that, like, somebody thought it was good enough to, and then a guy who usually writes for Rolling Stone did the fucking liner notes on the CD.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and I also contacted that guy because I want to know what he thought of this fucking thing. Because it's... Yeah, it's fun, because you could, I think, easily just think of this as a cute throwaway, but... Like, there's obviously a lot to it. There's a lot going on here.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, in a different world, like, what if this was like the breakthrough album instead of Bob Newhart?
Yeah.
Where like
absolutely.
everybody decided like, oh man, now that Morey Amsterdam crushed it, everybody's got to do comedy with a musical back, and you have to do a random chorus in the middle of your bit.
Yeah, what the fuck would comedy be? Like, that's a really good point. All right, so the next one, we've got a regular pop-length song called Baby Down the Drain.
Yeah. And I feel like the album for me climaxed during the 7-minute drunk narrative that I actually legitimately liked a lot of, to the point where like Baby Down the Drain is like, okay, because now it was sort of a Cockney voice.
Yeah,
it seemed to be mocking sort of the Cockney novelty song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have a whole album of Cockney novelty songs, by the way.
Do you really?
Yes. Yeah. I have not listened to it yet either. That's one of those that I want to listen to.
Is it by a well-known person, or is it just...
She is. She was an actress whose name is totally escaping me right now,
Okay.
but you've seen her in things from the 60s, I guarantee you. But yeah, all Cockney, which I want to know how they compare to whatever the fuck this was supposed to be.
But I mean, that must have been making fun of just kind of a song of the time.
Sure.
The same way that the Molly O'Toole one was. Mm-hmm. And it is just literally about a baby going down a drain.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, both sides have a baby song. One sweet and nice, and the other's about it being accidentally
I guess.
down the drain, I think.
I hope.
Yeah. Yeah, the only line I wrote down was the chlorine is good for his little eyes. And I didn't know if that was meant ironically or not.
Right.
If they honestly thought that the chlorine was good for a baby's eyes at that point. I have no idea.
Oh, yeah, it's like it's good to, wash your hair with asbestos or, there's so many things. Yeah.
Let's eat some Agent Orange.
Yeah. Yum. Okay, so here's the one that I guess it's appropriate that it's at the end. It's the one I wanted to avoid talking about the most, if that's okay. Is mostly because all the other characterizations are of people who are white.
Yes.
These are not white folk.
No.
We're talking about. It's called Onions. It's also almost 7 minutes long. It's 6.5 minutes long. And it is a South of the Border song, which is, to be fair, a popular theme at the time.
Yep.
But that's as fair as I'm going to really get, because it's no South of the Border.
No, it's not.
Which is a great song.
Yeah, and much shorter. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's some funny jokes in it and some different delivery.
Sure.
But at that point, it does just feel like more of the same, but with more upsetting generalizations.
It's just to give you guys. I'll probably throw a clip in here, but. It's Morey Amsterdam doing a Mexican accent. Voice. Let's call it a voice.
Voice, yeah.
Mexican voice.
He's not terribly committed.
He's
to
not.
It.
Onions and enchiladas, onions and enchiladas, Mexico, beautiful Mexico. Onions and enchiladas. Down in Mexico they have got food and weather, and both is hot. Very famous for quick divorce, is also famous for natural resources, and you find the principal commodity. Everywhere you go, everything you see is always onions and enchiladas, onions and enchiladas, Mexico, enchiladas, onions, beautiful Mexico, enchiladas, onions and enchiladas. Sí, amigos, Mexico is a beautiful place. I think the weather in Mexico is not only hot, it's dry. It's very dry. It's so dry I do not brush my teeth. I dust them off.
No. It sounds almost exactly actually like the Mexican sounding bird which is why I think of it. Because he does talk like this. I'm not exaggerating. That's exactly the voice. But there's a lazy Mexican joke in here. There's Hispanic women will steal your husband joke in here. They're money grubbing. It doesn't, the things that I'm singling out are the worst sounding things. It doesn't sound mean, but it is really misogynistic and racist.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
It's hard to pull anything out of there.
My favorite part is, I just thought it was odd that he has a non-named person doing sort of call and response jokes with him.
Yes.
Which he doesn't do anywhere else in the album.
Right.
So there was a weird sudden variety.
Yeah.
But it was also weird because, you don't really need that.
No.
Because somebody else was just offering the setup lines,
right.
And then he was doing the punchlines in the same way that he had been doing the whole album.
Yeah.
But then he does one joke, and then the unnamed setup person says, "That is an old joke." And Morey Amsterdam says, "Well, I'm tired." That was one of the things that made me laugh the most, sincerely, and also with the perspective that we're talking from.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's getting to the end of this 7-minute track on this, very short time-wise, but sort of long-feeling album.
Sure, yeah.
Because of all the similarities.
Mm-hmm.
And just also, it seemed to me the place where he most embraced that sort of, this is a part of that style, that it's abusive, that's what's funny about it.
Sure.
That these are the same jokes. I'm going to pound you, pound you, pound you, pound you. I just made 8 jokes about bulls in a row.
Right.
In bullfighting. And then that nice admission of like, what are you going to do?
Right. 100%.
That's what I got.
Right.
I'm the human joke machine, and I'm winding down.
right at the end of the album. I want to know how quickly they recorded this, because my guess is they couldn't have done more than 1 or 2 sessions of each.
Oh, yeah.
We're not the Beatles. We don't need to perfect this.
No.
We've got our studio musicians who are probably geniuses.
And I'm sure a lot of these jokes are jokes that he had been telling for
they have
years.
to have been. Yeah. Probably just adapted to like, oh, well, this one could be a Mexican joke. This
Yeah.
one, this could be an Irish joke. Because they're mostly outside. If you pulled any ethnicity away from them, they'd be pretty standard issue jokes about a guy or a lady.
Yeah, and every once in a while, like you were saying, he does have a little self-knowing laugh. Very quiet and not often.
Yeah.
But like back in that Nose song,
That's one.
when he says, I cleaned that up from an old honeymoon joke, that sounds really honest. Like he really did.
Yeah.
I need one more joke in this Nose section. I got a dick joke. I'll make it work.
And he's got a couple too where it might be in that song too, where he's like, I thought at first he was joking about struggling to get it out, but I feel like he actually was. He actually did find it funny enough that it's like, no, this is a good one. I remember this one fondly. There's 2 where he's like, kind of like laughing through them to get them out.
Yeah.
That I found really charming.
And that's really fun. I think it makes, that whole I am performing for an audience style, ladies and gentlemen, I am a performer style that he has, that makes it fun when he does have little human moments.
Sure. Is there anything, like after listening to this, how many times do you get to listen to it? Just the once?
Just once, yeah.
Okay. After listening to it, is there anything that this like brings to mind of other stuff that you've listened to at the time, like ever? Because I'm trying to think of anything I can compare this to.
Well, here's the really weird thing that it reminded me of. Was there's a sort of shift, I want to say in like 2009, 2010, where maybe other people did this, but I think Eminem, the rap artist, had that sort of epiphany of, if I do a rap song, but then the chorus is a really awesome, easy to sing along with hook, sung by like Rihanna or Pink, then it gets so much more radio play.
Sure.
Because you can't rap along. That's part of the skill of rapping. Not everyone can rap along, but you can sure sing along.
Sure.
And it was just weird to me that was basically the structure of this.
That's a good point.
You can't keep up with these Morey Amsterdam jokes, but then there's a fun chorus that you can bop along to.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, it's a very weird connection to make.
Eminem
That's honestly
and Morey Amsterdam. That
Eminem
is
to
the
Morey Amsterdam.
fucking greatest thing I've ever heard.
There is a connection.
That makes me so happy. Speaking of which, did you see Eminem being interviewed by Colbert on that thing that he did?
No, I didn't.
He took over a small town public access show in Michigan. He did the whole show himself, interviewed the ladies who normally host it, and his big interview was with Eminem.
Wow.
Who played offended but was finally, I'm like, oh, I kind of like Eminem now. Like he was actually like every time he was pissed or annoyed, like I was like, oh, he's actually acting. He's actually that's good. He's not the big dick that I thought he was, or at least not anymore.
No, I think he's calmed down a little bit.
That's good.
Yeah.
See if he's got kids, right?
Yeah.
That settles you down a little bit. I want to see. Okay, can we challenge Eminem to do an album just like this?
I'm sure we could.
Because that would be amazing. Holy fuck! I mean, please maybe avoid the ethnic jokes, but let's try and.
He doesn't have the greatest track record there, poor Eminem.
Say what you like about your mom. I know you don't like her, but if it's 45 minutes of not liking your mom, I'd listen to it.
That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, I would love to hear modern comedians sort of take this tack, because I think there are a lot of modern comedians who do like music a lot.
Sure.
You know, I think Paul F. Tompkins' collaboration with Evan Schletter. It would be really fun to see somebody like Paul F. Tompkins do like an album like this, where the music never goes away. You know,
that's actually something. It's a good point. Since it's not live, as bad as any of the jokes are, the music and the consistency of it is very forgiving.
Yeah.
I feel like you can get away with a lot more and play a lot more. And I've committed to the album. You committed to buy it or listen to it.
Yeah.
It's very forgiving. I think you can do more.
Right. It fills those gaps where the audience should be giving some energy. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, it's not dissimilar again, because did you have when you did Flawfest live? Did you have any of those other songs played? Did you have a full show, or was it?
No.
Okay.
When we recorded it, Bill Corbett and Kevin Murphy did opened for it. So
that's awesome.
So Bill did his song about James Bond, and they did they do a Game of Thrones parody song that's really really funny.
That's awesome. Okay.
Where they give the theme song to the show lyrics, which is
awesome.
Great. Except for now I can't watch the show without hearing their lyrics.
Of course.
Yeah, so there was a little bit of an element of music to it, to the actual evening.
Yeah.
But I really do like the combination of them, and interested in how they can intersect more.
Sure. Well, I think that just needs to happen. Let's just make that happen.
Awesome.
Okay, so I think we've made the argument for why to give this a listen. That's easy enough. Since it didn't inspire either of us, like, I think it's just easy enough to say give it a listen. You can get it on CD. It's probably very cheap.
Yeah.
What do you have to promote? It's coming up.
I am. Well, I don't know how soon this podcast will go out.
Next week.
Next week. I will have just done a show here in Los Angeles, so there's no point in that. I'll be at DragonCon as a guest.
Oh,
I'll
okay.
be doing some comedy shows and a live episode of my podcast, Obsessed, which is on Feral Audio. And then right from DragonCon, I'm going on tour with a show called Nerd Night Out.
Okay.
And that will be with Molly Lewis and my friends, the Double Clicks.
Okay.
More music and comedy
Sure.
combination, because they do music, but they do a lot of funny music, both Molly and the Double Clicks, and then I do stand-up, and then we do a bunch of sort of somewhat improvised shtick together.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that will be on the East Coast, and you can find out all about that on my website at josephscrimshaw.com.
Sweet. Twitter is just at Joseph
At
Scrimshaw?
Joseph Scrimshaw, yeah.
Easy
I try
enough.
to keep it simple.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Well, thank you for doing this.
Oh, thank you. This is great.
Thank you for fucking picking this album. There's so many albums that, like, I'm never going to get to listen to unless somebody's like, can I listen to that one? Because it's not going to happen.
I've always loved him on Dick Van Dyke, and
Yeah.
you know, I was bummed because I wanted to hear it with a live audience.
Right.
What was that recording like?
Right.
But this ended up being really weird and cool.
I wonder if he did ever perform any of this, like, in this format.
Why
Like-
would he with like with actual musical backing? Maybe a little bit,
Yeah, but-
not as.
Yeah.
There isn't room for laughter. There isn't
It's
room
true.
to play the audience.
That's true,
The way
yeah.
he's doing it.
Yeah. So, yeah, not only forgiving, but you're right, there's not the room for the material.
Yeah.
Ba-da-ba. It's worth listening to just for that.
Yeah.
It's impressive, like, that this guy's brain worked that way.
Yeah.
And I think there are a lot of writers who probably are still very much like that, but they don't perform like this. They just do, not just do, but they do stand up. They do
Yeah.
the kind of stand up any other stand up would do nowadays. They're not going to throw up anything they would throw up in a writer's room onto a stage, unless you were like Harris Whittles, who I feel like did a lot of that on stage. Like that's one guy who maybe makes me think of that.
Yeah.
And a guy who I really wish I'd gotten to meet, but like very much like I'm gonna say the dumbest shit. You know, he would go on Comedy Bang Bang and read out of his phone like the worst jokes that he had ever written.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome. I find that impressive. It takes
Yeah.
balls.
I do really like the energy of that style of comedy,
Mm-hmm.
and Morey Amsterdam does it great. Of just that relentless energy is really cool. When a lot of the current style of stand-up is to take big long pauses and just go, "Oh, what else, guys?" You know,
Yeah, what else?
that's a style, and that's great. That's a style that's really popular right now.
Uh-huh.
You know, nothing against it in particular.
Yeah.
But it is cool and refreshing to hear somebody who is just sort of like, I am here for the audience. This is all about you, so I will not stop. I will not stop. I will not stop.